Hello and welcome to the Untitled Anarchist Seagull channel. I'm your host, an Untitled Anarchist Seagull called Elise, and I'm sorry again for the delay as a result of the family medical emergency I mentioned yesterday in Discord and elsewhere. The schedule around here has gone a little bit unpredictable, and so I I had to be a little bit late. We ended up eating dinner really late, and it just kind of cascaded from there. But I'm here now, and you're here, and so let's see. What isn't here is my YouTube window. Where's that? Oh yeah. Oops. Now that is a really annoying thing about OBS. If you have a notification on YouTube, it can't. It will act like that is a completely different window. And not recognize that it is in fact the same window you always have up. Now, when last we met, last night, we were looking at the latest low point in the downward trajectory of Xanderhole. And I had to say, I mean, it's been really impressive. Just the number of things that suck about the take that we've been watching. Wait, in this video, Hassan scaremongers about World War III, where actually it's Sanderhole first scaremongering about non-existent Iranian WMD, and regurgitating every pro-Israel talking point. And yeah, I mean, yeah, it's been a suckfest, and part of me is quite inclined to continue this thing till the bitter end. But I am, of course, open to suggestions, chat. We do have a whole lot of other options. Hey, Jinjiri. Oh, you missed an exciting one yesterday. I don't know if you caught it on the VOD, but we're following Xanderhole's downward trajectory, and he's just gone straight up Hasboroid. And one of the things that really gets me, and this is something Vush also does, his like mentor, the man who's Dingleberry Xanderhole is Zinglehall. Um, there's this idea amongst the like centrist debate bro dickheads that people are just like starting with a default position of America bad. Like that is just where it always was, and it didn't come from anywhere. And I mean, it just reminds me of after 9/11, what right wingers did was they had this whole thing where, with the phrase they used was blame America first. And they used it as this McCarthyist campaign to get right wing students to spy on their professors and stuff like that, and try to get them kicked out of the universities. And it's just wild because that's not the default for practically any. I mean, for pretty much anyone they're talking about anyway. Because, I mean, certainly in the US, we are bombarded with propaganda telling us that the US is always on the right side of history, like by definition. And the reason any of us come to the conclusion that the US actually isn't on the right side of history is that we start looking at history and we start seeing what it is the US does and what effect it has in the world. And then it's like, oh shit, are we the baddies? You know? But Xanderhole is unaware of all of this because he is a deeply incurious person. I mean, he was like talking about, I do my research. There's no evidence of it. The white supremacist manifest destiny song? I don't know that one. But we do have. So I'm kind of curious. We've got a whole bunch left on. Oh, Write It. Oh, I was like, okay, that doesn't sound like a song I've written. Um, but yeah, maybe I will. So one option is we continue with this train wreck. Hassan fearmongers about World War III. Then we've also got this amazing piece of pro-Israel bullshit. Biden is involved in a blood libel against Israel, which, I mean, the minute you, like, say that, given what Biden's been getting up to lately, you absolutely, like, you have departed from this universe. You were in a place where Spock has facial hair. Although, actually, I think we're in a place where Spock has facial hair. So you go into the, like, alternative universe where Spock doesn't have facial hair. The good mirror universe. We're in the evil one. So I think we're gonna start out with that and just follow it for a little while. If we get tired of it, we can always switch over. There's still some time left. Hey, Riveroon.
That it's a pretty like stark and fucking.
Okay, let me just back this up a little bit. Among other things, I want to know what we just walked in on.
Israel. I know you very, very badly want to hear what I'm saying right now and hear it as a defense of Israel.
Oh, yeah, that's right. This was. I'm gonna back this up more because this was wild. This is what we ended on last night, and it was like. It was hard for me to tear myself away from it despite being very tired because. Fucking wow.
You're so emotional. I'm gonna think would be political suicide. He's already teetering on the edge of probability to win this election coming November, but I just don't see him signing that executive order and doing something that he damn well knows would be an extremely unpopular decision. Sorry, dude, but you look at the Israeli strategy, looking at a map, Israel has been trying to force Gazans to move south with death and destruction. They want to squeeze them all out through Egypt. You're blind, Zan. You're understanding.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so somebody in his chat, so for some reason this did not show up on screen. I was looking for it again this time. But the person is just saying literally, I mean, just facts. Literally just facts. Every single thing he said is correct. And also, I mean, Israel has just openly said that they're trying to push everybody into Egypt. So, okay, knowing that, and knowing that Zan is, of course, an eminently rational guy, let's see how he reacts.
Standing Xander Hall is highly myopic. You realize you're one of these people. You're so emotional. I'm gonna ban you, okay? You're gonna take a nice rest tonight. I hope you go take a nap. Have some hot chocky, maybe like brew yourself some hot chocolate or a nice coffee. Have yourself like a nice nap. Take some deep breaths. You know,
motherfucker, you do not get to condescend to people. Xanderhold does not get to condescend to people. You have to actually earn the condescension. Xanderhall has been here just saying, demonstrating zero understanding of everything. Like, last night, he goes, Israel is not doing ethnic cleansing. What Israel is doing is, and then he proceeds to rattle off what is actually a pretty accurate definition of what the term ethnic cleansing means. I mean, like, on every single fucking level, the best you can say about him is that he has not bothered to look into any of this shit. and he feels that he's entitled to condescend to somebody who just states facts. Like, there was nothing emotional in what that person said. They just stated fucking facts.
Relax a little bit. I want you to think about this issue, and maybe when you wake up, you'll.
I thought about the issue. I actually, I followed your advice, Sanderhall. I gave it a night. I watched this first last night. Gave it a night. Thought about this issue. Yeah, you're still fucked up, dude. You still suck. This take is remarkably bad and will age like brie on a hot tin roof.
You'll understand why you're dumb.
See, you're dumb because you worry about facts. You pay attention to stuff. Yeah, like debate bros, real alpha chud debate bros, do not pay attention to facts. They don't need facts because they can be condescending.
No, I am not defending Israel. I know you.
Yeah, he's totally not defending Israel. He's just denying the things that Israel is demonstrably doing.
Very, very badly want to hear what I'm saying right now and hear it as a defense of Israel. What I am pointing out right now is that Hassan is trying very badly to weaponize the fact that you are all, and rightly so, very upset about the fact that countless, what is it, like, fuck, how many children has it been that have died
Like, he did not bother to look into, I mean, he has not bothered to look into any of this. It's like 15,000 with a large unknown number is still under the rubble, some of which will have been built, some of their bodies will have been built into that fucking jetty that the US is building.
Gaza now, it's in the tens of thousands, nearly like 30K or something like that.
Yeah, listen to how he says this. Like, oh yeah, I mean, this is so fucking zone of interest. Like, yeah, I mean, how many is it up to now? It's like tens of thousands, right? I mean, but you can't get emotional about that. You can't, like, I mean, I can understand the need to condemn it. I mean, that's a lot of kids. That's a lot of kids. But you gotta not condemn it. I'm not defending them, mind you. I just don't think you should condemn them. Yeah. If you go through my back catalog of VODs on YouTube, Jinjiri, you will find a video where Xander Hall expresses his hatred of the concept of ableism because it does not allow him to be ableist.
It's a pretty, like, stark and fucking terrifying number.
Yeah, and your guy Biden made that possible, motherfucker. Maybe you should feel a little bit bad about standing him so hard.
You're not defending Israel. I'm not defending Israel. That's for damn sure. I am pointing out the fact that Hassan is weaponizing your anger, your emotional state. That is...
Weaponizing it how? All he's done, like, literally all we've actually seen in this video. We haven't seen a whole lot of Hassan. It has been almost exclusively Xander Hall. Very high Xan to Hassan ratio going on here. And all he has done has been stating facts. The one thing that I would say is tendentious is this idea that he keeps coming back to, that Israel could somehow drag the US into a war the US doesn't want to be in. And that's nonsense. But the rest of what he said is just facts. Like, what's the weaponization here?
It's been changed by this knowledge that there's nothing... It feels like there's nothing you can do about the fact that there are countless children dying in Gaza in order to make you not think with your head.
Wait, okay. He's weaponizing the fact that it feels like you can't do anything about this to make you not think with your head. Okay, so this is where Zan's gonna tell us what we can do about this. For example, I mean, shutting down, like, university campuses across the country, that seems to have caught on like wildfire. Thank you, Baroness Shafiq. Thank you, Baroness, for having the absolute, just remarkable ability to read a room. That you decided that the thing to do was to break your own university's rules. And sick the riot pigs on your own students and professors. I mean, that was just a strategic fucking chef's kiss moment right there. That is Clausewitz.
You're not thinking. Who even watches Hassan? I mean, way more people than watch me.
That's a relief. I
Like,
mean, it's fucked up. It's like, last I checked, Xanderhole has, like, let me just check here. 86.7 thousand subscribers. 86.7 thousand people. 86.7 thousand people care what this motherfucker thinks. Okay. Somebody, he's getting pushback. Other people are putting in, are pointing out other facts that he's not mentioning. Somebody called Lucky Otter says, also, they aren't letting AIDS in. Also, this has been a project of ethnic cleansing for a century. Then somebody else points out they say they don't remember, but they think the total death toll is 30K, which is low. I mean, the official health ministry estimates are like 34,000, and that is just the people they've been able to identify and do the paperwork on. And somebody then, Lucky Otter says, but this is a genocide. Misspells genocide. I don't give a shit. Zan will probably give a shit that Lucky Otter misspelled genocide. But, yeah.
I mean, what? Like, you could say that, but I mean, way more people watch Hassan than watch me, so...
Good.
A lot of people? Astro Garlo? I mean, it's definitely a problem that a lot of people on the left think this way.
I wonder why it is that so many people, that so many people look at, the horrors that are coming out of Gaza and say, that is bad, people shouldn't do that. The US government is bad for making it possible. I mean, this is such an unforced error that he's made. Like, this is... I mean, you could not get this position from anywhere in the left. Like, factions that absolutely can't stand each other, tendencies that do not get on anything else, can all agree that this is horrifying because it is impossible not to be horrified by it unless you're a ghoul like Xanderhall in his fucking gaming chair.
Number, unless, I mean, if it's an insignificant number of people who follow Hassan, then I don't even know how insignificant I am and my following is.
Well, I mean, I've got 353 followers to his like 86.7 thousand, so looks pretty significant from where I sit.
Into a house to the house of Simon Falek in Jerusalem, which according to the previous reports is a fortified bunker. Falek is a U.S. billionaire, a GOP donor, and the owner of Duty Free America. Netanyahu stayed at his house at the beginning of the war after rockets were fired on Jerusalem.
U.S. officials have officially confirmed that Iran has launched those drones toward...
See, I mean, again, Xanderhole was slagging him off because he follows news outlets on Twitter and goes to their Twitter pages to find what their latest is. Because it matters what platform you look at the exact same news outlet on. But Xanderhole insists he does do research. He hasn't shown us what his research is. So far it just sounds like he's following the fucking IDF spokesman's page.
Israel. We know that the president has ended his weekend in Delaware, is on his way back to the White House. He is meeting with his national security team there. What more can you tell us about what they're going to be doing there? Who's meeting with him in that situation room? And also...
I told you, by the way, that they would stop saying this is retaliatory the moment that drones were in the air. And approximately 23 minutes after the drones were in the air, they've already dropped the whole pretense, like, why Iran...
This is literally false. I covered this last night. Hours after Hassan did this entire segment, because I actually waited for later, like way later into the day until information was actually...
I mean, from where I sit, days after all this, I definitely have seen a lot of just completely dropping the word retaliatory and completely leaving out what the context is that, that Israel attacked Iran first. Yeah, Xander, I've been trying to work out, some kind of portmanteau with Xanderhal and Hasbara.
Actually about this instead of just speculating, and they were still referring to it constantly as a retaliatory attack against Israel.
Well, he just showed an example. Let me just back this up to make sure. What he was just looking at did not use those terms. He wasn't speculating. He just looked at a fucking
officials
video.
have officially confirmed that Iran has launched those drones toward Israel. We know that the president has ended his weekend in Delaware, is on his way back to the White House. He is meeting with his national security team there. What more can you tell us about what they're going to be doing there? Who's meeting with him in that Situation Room? And also,
I told you, by the way, that they would stop saying this is retaliatory the moment the drones were in the air.
Yeah, he wasn't speculating. He watched a video and it didn't say anything about retaliatory.
Approximately 23 minutes after the drones were in the air, they've already dropped the whole pretense. Like, why Iran?
This is literally false. I covered this last night.
The video, we just saw the video, Xanderhal. We just saw the fucking video.
After Hassan did this entire segment, because
Like, I know Xanderhall doesn't like editing. He really doesn't. He never edits his shit. His stuff is long as hell. I admit I don't do a whole lot of editing either. I can't be bothered a lot of the time. But, like, if you were going to lie like that, just this embarrassingly, right after somebody has literally shown video proving what you're saying is wrong, the thing to do, Xanderhall, would be to cut that bit out.
I actually waited for later, like way later into the day, until information was actually out about this instead of just
he's just looking at information that is out about this.
And they were still referring to it constantly as a retaliatory attack against Israel for the strike they did on their consulate. So, like, I don't... He's just lying here. Like, isn't it nice...
He's not lying. He just showed the fucking video.
It's how Hassan will do this thing, and conservatives do this thing too, where they just kind of make, like, an emotional claim that can't really be... It's unfalsifiable.
This is falsifiable. You don't know what unfalsifiable means. That's like 3 terms. He clearly doesn't understand the meaning of genocide, ethnic cleansing, and unfalsifiable. Unfalsifiable, chat, I'm pretty sure everyone in chat knows what it means, because it isn't that hard. It means that it is capable of being empirically proved false. That it is sufficiently specified to be empirically proved false. And he wasn't speculating, he was looking at the video that didn't say anything about it being retaliation. He was saying it in response to evidence of what he's talking about. So, no, it isn't you can't, on the one hand, say what he's saying is false, and on the other hand, say what he's saying is unfalsifiable. The point of unfalsifiable is that there's no way to say that it's false.
Like, they'll drop this talking point. That's unfalsifiable. There's no way I could, like, get him in a call and be like, prove that they were gonna drop this.
He could show you the fucking video that you just showed on your stream. I mean, that would be an example.
Technically, I can, because I was like, I was covering this after he covered it, so this particular point I happen to know is bullshit and can prove.
Then it's falsifiable. You're saying it is falsifiable. Like, make up your fucking mind. And then the question, of course, is, did people stop, okay, was there an appreciable change in the number of news outlets in, the Western regime media universe, that acknowledged that it was retaliatory before and after the strike was launched? Maybe some of them did. Like, he might be able to point to 1 or 2 that still did. That isn't the point. The point is, he's got at least one example right there that he's looking at. Not speculation. He looked at it. The video was already out. Saying...
Prove that it's bullshit by, like, I guess I could bring up my stream from yesterday if you wanted. But most people would not have the prerequisite knowledge required or even the thought to think of what he just said there.
That's because Xanderhall he's a very special boy. He has the prerequisite knowledge. He has the thought.
As being a pretty baseless and bullshit claim. Like, yes, the media is going to drop this line of calling it a retaliation attack.
Yeah, I mean, he did provide one example just now.
which they did not do.
Then you should have no trouble finding examples of media reports since since the strike was launched in mainstream Western media. Like what he just showed was CNN, so that are still saying it's retaliatory, and we can have it out. Why don't you show us?
But as long as he said they would do it, and people forgot that he said that, and it just had the effect of making people, for a moment, a little angrier at America, then they move on, and it's not a big deal.
Angrier at America.
Hassan is arguably just a left-wing person, a left-leaning person, who uses the same exact strategies across the board as conservatives. Not
This is so funny coming from a guy who believes white genocide is a thing. That seems to be the only kind of genocide Xander Hall will acknowledge, incidentally. Because I remember him giving a lot less benefit of the doubt to Lua, to Professor Flowers, for because Professor Flowers said that decolonization was good, and Vosh said it was genocide, that was white genocide, and Xanderhold jumped right on that shit. But when Israel openly, with the stated intent of exterminating 2 million people, kills tens of thousands of people, destroys an entire densely populated area, he isn't going to call it genocide yet, because that would I don't know, that means America bad. He hasn't given a reason. He hasn't like pulled up the definition to show where he differs on this.
just for gaining a following, but for engaging with politics, just as dishonest as a conservative, despite holding...
Motherfucker, you blocked somebody
progressive
and called them emotional for just stating basic, easily verifiable facts about the U.S.-Israeli strategy in Gaza.
values.
You're gonna call people
and are
dishonest.
reframing the narrative as Iran struck first, and you will see red lines are being crossed by Iran against Israel is the standing narrative. So quickly did it change. Yesterday, I told you yesterday that this was going to happen, and it's already happening. Israel has a right to defend itself.
It has not happened.
I mean, he gave you an example of it happening. I mean, you're literally just gaslighting your audience right now, Zan.
It has been referred to as a retaliatory attack by at least CNN, which my understanding...
Wait, he just showed CNN not doing that, though.
This is literally what Hassan's watching, is CNN.
Yeah, and they didn't say that.
We literally covered CNN. When was I live covering this? It would have been... Me and Hassan are in the same time zone. I'm in Seattle, he's in LA, so, like, we're on the same time zone.
God, okay. Yeah, I mean, but he's not defending Israel or anything. I mean, this is so wild. He is just completely going off, finding ways to just, excuse, like, yesterday he was talking about human shields and all of this complete bullshit. He actually justified the massacres in the hospitals, saying that Hamas was in there and stuff. Like, Israel can't find any evidence of it. The only evidence we have is, like, that the resistance shows up after Israel goes to these places and kicks them out. That is the only evidence of their presence. I mean, he has just done nothing but repeat U.S. propaganda on this without any regard to whether it's true at all. And he's going to have a go at Hassan for possibly overstating the case after looking at one example of literally the thing he's talking about. Fuck, I've got hiccups on air. So that's Xanderhall's fault. Xanderhall gave me fucking hiccups on air.
For him, this would have been... he covers his time. Damn it. Can we see... 4:23 p.m. Eastern Time. So that would have been 7...
So that's weed with a little extra.
p.m. I ended my stream at, like, what, 8 or 9 last night? I think it was, like, 9. So I would have been doing that segment around 9 p.m. PST. And he was doing this around 7. So when I did my segment at 9 p.m., I was reading, like, excerpts from CNN's, like, live updates
Then you should be able to pull them up, Zan, if they prove that he was overstating the case there.
I was reading like excerpts from CNN's live updates where they were referring to it as a retaliatory attack. I'm pretty sure they're probably still doing it right now.
Oh, wow, he's pretty sure. I mean, that's a great basis on which to call somebody a liar. Yeah, if you're pretty sure. I mean, why didn't you show us your fucking research tabs, Zan? Why didn't you show us show us them actually doing it?
Much as I disagree with Zan on this, by definition, what Israel is doing isn't ethnic cleansing. Wait a second. Then what do you disagree with me on here? And
Yeah, and I am actually curious because it is very. I mean, what definition does this person think that ethnic cleansing has?
Nancy Webb. Wait, what? As much as I disagree with Zan on this, by definition, what Israel is doing isn't ethnic cleansing. So my argument is, I don't like Israel, and I'm not defending them, but what they're doing isn't ethnic cleansing, and calling it that is just emotional.
No, it isn't emotional. It's just the definition. Like what we saw. I mean, and in the VOD, I'm gonna put all this together, and I think I will just keep coming back to this fucking thing. Because he goes, it's not ethnic cleansing. He says it is a colonial strategy to displace a population and then take over their land, which is literally what ethnic cleansing is. He actually said this. If you watch it on the VOD, you will from last night, you will see it.
People's beliefs.
Okay, Demo Boy says, Israel's treatment of Gaza does count as genocide under international law. Blocking humanitarian aid and basic necessities to the region counts as making conditions unlivable to the ethnic group. Yeah, I mean, Demo Boy has actually read the international legal definition of genocide, clearly. Unlike Xanderhole, who thinks that genocide is a step down from ethnic cleansing, incidentally. That's another thing he said yesterday.
This is literally that one meme where it says, where like the guy like replies no to the lady and then repeats exactly what she said on Twitter. Jesus Christ, what?
I am very curious what this person disagrees on, and also what they think the definition of ethnic cleansing is if it doesn't involve systematically expelling people from the place that they live in order to take it over. Which is something that Israel had not only is demonstrably doing, you know, they had displaced half of the population of Gaza. I mean, it's more than half now. And they had openly said they were trying to get rid of all of them.
What do you disagree with?
Yeah,
I genuinely think that Hassan just, like, he is so successful at manipulating people's emotions. Like, they will hear me say something that they agree with, but I'm criticizing Hassan. And Hassan's saying America bad. So,
but America bad. Like, I mean, motherfucker, I understand you're a gamer, Zan, and gamers have this thing about, you know, playing things on hard mode. You're not really a gamer unless you play the games on hard mode. But if you're gonna try to make the America good case, you have certainly picked a moment where you are playing that on hard mode. Please, I would love to hear you make the case for America good right now. I would absolutely fucking love to see you make the case for America good. Is he gonna try? I don't think he's gonna try, because I think even he is dimly aware that there's no way to make that case right now.
So surely I must be in the wrong.
Yeah,
so
you
even
are.
though there's nothing that you could necessarily say that I said wrong.
Well, how much time you got? There are a few things. Actually, I mean, I wanted to come back to this. Hang on, there was something I wanted to read because he was talking about human shields and all that bullshit. When we were watching last night. And Francesca Albanese, the good Albanese, she had a whole thing on this bullshit in her report that, yeah, let me see. Where is it? I've got the PDF here someplace. It'll probably take less time. Albanese genocide report. Here we go. A key finding of this report is that Israel has strategically invoked the international humanitarian law framework as humanitarian camouflage to legitimize its genocidal violence in Gaza. And here's the section. Okay. This is paragraph 55. I will just drop this link in chat. You can all look at it. It is a great report. It's hard to read. Yeah. Oh, I would like some weed, too. Yeah, I think Xander Hall, when you watch one of his streams, YouTube should send you weed. A core feature of Israel's conduct since 7 October has been the intensification of its de-civilianization of Palestinians, a protected group under the convention, by which she means the Genocide Convention. Israel has used international humanitarian law, IHL terminology, to justify its systematic use of lethal violence against Palestinian civilians as a group, and the extensive destruction of... Here, let me just put this up on screen. That'll be easier. Hey. Okay, let me see. How is that looking? Let me magnify that a bit so we can all see what I'm looking at here. And again, this is the Francesca Albanese report, the UN Special Rapporteur on Human Rights in the Occupied Palestinian Territory. Okay. Israel has used IHL terminology to justify its systematic use of lethal violence against Palestinian civilians as a group and the extensive destruction of life-sustaining infrastructures. Israel has done this by deploying IHL concepts such as human shields, collateral damage, safe zones, evacuations, and medical protection in such a permissive manner as to gut these concepts of their normative content, subverting their protective purpose, and ultimately eroding the distinction between civilians and combatants in Israeli actions in Gaza. Official statements, as paragraph 56, have translated into military conduct that repudiates the very notion of civilian protection. Israel has thus radically altered the balance struck by IHL between civilian protection and military necessity, as well as the customary rules of distinction, proportionality, and precaution. This has obscured one cardinal tenet of IHL: indiscriminate attacks, which do not distinguish military targets from protected persons and objects, cannot be proportionate and are always unlawful. 57. On the ground, this distortion of IHL, articulated by Israel as state policy in its official documents, has transformed an entire national group and its inhabited space into a destroyable target, revealing an eliminationist conduct of hostilities. This has had devastating effects, costing the lives of tens of thousands of Palestinian civilians, destroying the structural fabric of life in Gaza, and causing irreparable harm. This illustrates a clear pattern of conduct from which the requisite genocidal intent is the only reasonable inference to be drawn. This is, he was talking about, and she's talked about this in interviews as well, since the report came out. She says, pointing out that the whole point of the concept of human shields is that you're not allowed to attack them because they're civilians. Except Israel has never been deterred by that. Not once. Despite Palestinians are deterred by it, which is why when Israel uses Palestinians as human shields, as they do rather a lot, I mean, they openly acknowledge the practice, they avoid being attacked. Because Palestinians aren't fucking ghouls. I mean, one observation that was made that was quite interesting. I mean, he wrote this, this video is from after this came out. So I think it can be held against him, because if he were minimally responsible, he would be aware of this. So Israel has been doing this thing. It has been witnessed in particular, Nusayrat camp in Gaza, where they will send quadcopter drones, armed drones, with the sounds of women and children crying in order to lure Palestinians out and shoot them. Meanwhile, I mean, there was a just absolutely delightful little video of an Israeli death squad member on leave back in his illegal settlement in the West Bank. See, he's driving by, you know, not a cell phone in sight, and sees a Palestinian flag just lying on the ground, and he's like, fuck this, I gotta go and get it. And he goes and gets it, and it's booby-trapped, and it blew up in his face. And it's just, I mean, Ali Abu Nima on the EI livestream was pointing out just how stark the juxtaposition is. That the way Israel lures people out to their deaths is by weaponizing feelings of like compassion and solidarity, whereas the way that Israeli goons can be lured out is by weaponizing the fact that they're all fucking raving racists.
I have to be in the wrong anyway, I guess.
Well,
Okay.
you are.
Is going to be the meta again.
At the same time, I do think it's important to underscore that Iran has been very clear and has telegraphed that it will mete out a retaliation for that attack on the Iranian compound, the diplomatic embassy compound in Damascus on April 1st. And so some are extrapolating from that by telegraphing it so clearly, Iran is trying to find that precise point. And this is where it gets dangerous and difficult.
She's doing a decent job.
Yeah, see, okay. Notice he's doing that. He specifically said she's doing a decent job. So, once again, completely undermining what Xander Hole was just saying. Because Xander Hole was like, oh, he's so fucking uncharitable to U.S. regime media. He assumes that they're going to do the propagandistic thing they always do because it's a safe assumption. And he has her on there, and she actually does acknowledge that it is retaliatory and points out that actually it seems that Iran is trying to do this in a way that they make their point, but, and everybody can kind of sit down afterwards. And he says she's doing a decent job. He acknowledges that she's actually giving an accurate report, which is exactly the opposite of what Xander Hole has spent several minutes telling us is fucking Hassan's MO.
Escalating and retaliating and avoiding creating a scenario that you can't pull back from the brink of, there is always the capacity for things to go wrong.
Whoever hurts us, we hurt them. We will protect ourselves from any threat, and will do so with coolness and determination. I know that
coolness and determination. Yeah, I mean, if there's one thing, I mean, Israel never loses their cool.
you citizens of Israel are also keeping your cool. I urge you to listen to the directives of the Home Front Command. Together we will stand, and with God's help, together we will overcome all our enemies.
Oh, finally, we got the weirdos in here again. So you're rooting for Iran? If this prompts a response from the U.S., it could mean economic collapse and further escalation. Iran controls oil exports. Millions could die. It's not good that Iran escalated now. What the f*** do you mean? If you're mad that Iran retaliated...
Yeah, I mean... escalation is a weird word to be using. I mean, if anybody escalated, it was Israel. I mean, this was a thing... You would hear this line from people who are making really bad faith arguments against, like, anti-fascist community defense efforts, where the idea was that, you know, if you, like, punch Nazis back, you're escalating. Now, they've been killing people that kind of regularly, but if you just punch them in the face, that's escalation. I mean, and that's the same energy here.
To Israel, you should be incredibly angry at Joe Biden and incredibly angry at Israel, or literally...
Yeah.
You should support Iran because, like, this literally makes no fucking sense.
He didn't say that.
Support Iran.
Israel, or Iran retaliated... oil exports, millions could die. It's not good that Iran escalated now. What the f*** do you mean? If you're mad that Iran retaliated to Israel, you should be incredibly angry at Joe Biden and incredibly angry at Israel.
Yeah, he didn't say you should support Iran. He said you should be pissed off at the US and Israel for attacking Iran and creating a situation where this sort of retaliation happened. Because Iran didn't do this out of nowhere. They did this in response to an attack. And not only that, they waited for the Security Council. They explicitly said, we'll consider the matter closed if this gets some kind of condemnation from the fucking Security Council. Security Council didn't say shit. So, they launched an attack that killed nobody. But did have direct hits at 2 bases directly involved in the genocide.
You should support Iran because, like, this literally makes no fucking sense.
Yeah, because he didn't say that.
He's just desperate, mind you, during election year, to push his left-leaning, potentially Democrat voting audience not to vote. That is,
which he didn't say anything about either. And I have a feeling, I don't think that Hassan is probably on the on that team, actually. Yeah, but he didn't say that. He said you should be pissed off at the US and Israel for giving Iran something to retaliate against. That's all he fucking said.
I guarantee you, I am alleging a conspiracy right now. All of the don't vote Democrat lefties push for this because when a Republican is president, all their viewership goes up.
He's been saying this over and over again. Never mind that that's like when he decided to switch over to his grift as like give me money because I'm an ex-Nazi. Like that's his fucking grift. That was like Trump did very well for him actually.
Don't believe me? Check Social Blade. Look at mainstream media. This doesn't even just apply to YouTubers and streamers. Media viewership takes hit.
Look yourself up, then, Xander Hall.
In first 100 days of Biden presidency.
So what?
Yep, here it is, The Hill. Okay, had to find it in my search history. TV news.
I'd love to see his search history.
Ratings, online readership plunge during Biden's first 100 days. So here's like.
So what?
a
This
segment
doesn't
they
prove
did
your
on this
point.
topic.
First of all, the fact that it's combining all media does not help. Like, I mean, this does not make his point at all. Does he not he doesn't understand that.
Topic,
It will.
I guess. Basically, if you're ever wondering why people like Hassan and so many of these lefty figures are pushing for people not to vote for Biden, despite the fact
He didn't say anything about not voting. Okay, chat. As I said, I don't really follow Hassan. I mostly see him incidentally. Has he been saying don't vote for Biden? And, I mean, let's just take this a little step further. Because Zenderhol is actually trying to take the pressure off Biden. To take the pressure off of Biden to stop committing a very unpopular genocide that specifically, like, the people he needs, the voters he absolutely needs, are absolutely appalled with this thing. I mean, you could actually say that calling on people to put pressure on the US to stop this, to put pressure on Biden to stop this, is actually helping Biden's election chances. Because Biden's response to this has been, like, or his people anyway, have been trying to strategically distance himself from it at the same time as he's doing it. So, and every time that he is distancing himself more from it, at least some people are going to go, oh, maybe he's not okay with it after all, and they'll feel okay voting for him. So, actually, if the argument is that what's good for Biden's fucking career, because, what, an 85-year-old man, he obviously, who's fucking loaded, well, what he obviously needs is another 4-year job. I mean, that's no age to fucking retire at. But if that's your argument, then actually putting pressure on Biden to do the right thing is helping his chances if he decides to heed the warnings.
that Trump is so evidently, like, just needs to not be reelected. And it just seems insane that they could possibly justify this position. Remember, this has been the truth across the board for every left-leaning political outlet.
Okay, then it shouldn't be hard for you to find some evidence of that.
Frankly, every media outlet that covers politics since Biden got elected.
Wait, so you're saying that you also have an interest in Biden not getting elected? I mean, like...
Broadcast and cable news ratings, along with website traffic, are all taking a hit in the post-Trump era. During President Biden's first 100 days in office, weekly full-day cable ratings for
Who the fuck is reading this?
CNN and MSNBC have been trending down.
Yeah, that doesn't say... I mean, that's... Hassan isn't MSNBC. Hassan isn't CNN. Like, you have to look at completely different figures if you want to know this.
According to statistics from the ratings company Nielsen, on
This
average,
motherfucker-
1.3 million household viewers were watching MSNBC in the last week of January, shortly after Biden took office. For the week ending April 25th, that number was 868,000.
It continues to drop. It continues to drop even as we get towards the next election. And the reason for that is that Biden's done a pretty good job.
No, like, first of all, that's just a couple of outlets that they were listing. That is not actually saying what he thinks it's saying.
And things have been somewhat normal.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're trans, unless you, like, don't want to have a police urban warfare training facility in some of the limited green space in your neighborhood, you know, unless you just don't like genocide.
You know, stable. People aren't living in constant fear of
Like, what, trans people don't exist now?
a Republican president, which means people aren't constantly, like, watching left-wing political content because...
But you're not talking about left-wing political content. Like, literally nothing that you just looked at was left-wing political content. It was just fucking MSNBC and CNN. It's just, you know, mainstream regime media. And the thing is, they actually have been in declines because of the wealth of other options for some time. People aren't really watching a whole lot of cable anymore.
They're afraid of what's happening. Things have been getting bad all around the country, sure, but...
So, I mean, I love how he'll do this. He'll totally contradict everything he just said in the most blasé way possible.
Without sort of a central figure to tie it all together who holds a strong position of power...
Yeah, because, I mean, we haven't had a president.
It's hard to get that desire and that sort of, like, motivation.
Maybe the reason people are no longer watching MSNBC, like, the people that he's talking about, to the extent that they were watching MSNBC in the first place, and I do not think, first of all, that there's a huge overlap between MSNBC viewership and, like, Hassan's viewership in the first place. I think that's probably two different demographics already, but... The thing is that a lot of those media outlets stopped covering a lot of things. They didn't. It isn't that they stopped happening. It's just they stopped covering them, like the pandemic, like kids in cages, like fascist shit. You know, suddenly they weren't covering that stuff. And so if you were watching the news specifically to find out about that, you would have to go someplace else.
To be politically active going on. And Hassan's numbers have been dropping quite immensely as of late.
What do you mean, as of late?
Here, Social Blade, Hassan...
Like, as of late doesn't help you. This is 4 years in.
Nabi... Yeah, look at this. This is his main YouTube channel? Or is this his Twitch? Yeah.
Well, why don't you show us what you're looking at, Xandro?
Yeah, this is Twitch. Holy shit. Yeah, he's losing followers every day.
Every large channel is losing followers every day. It's a net thing. Like, you lose followers, you gain followers. And the more followers you start out with, the bigger your reach is to start out with, the more that is going to be balanced out.
He's live right now, and he's gained 1,000 followers today.
So he isn't losing... Okay, again, like, what... You're defeating your entire point here.
But he's lost 4,000 followers on Twitch. And
how many okay, let me just see. Hassan Abi, how many followers has he got on Twitch? I'm guessing it's probably a few. I'm guessing, actually, that it's quite a lot. Hassan Abi. 2.6 million followers. He has 2.6 million followers, okay. So he gained 1,000. So he loses a couple, he gains a couple out of 2.6 million. That does not really help your fucking point.
in the last 30 days. He's in the negative per month. If we
By how much?
look at his gained followers. Is this YouTube? Huh. No, this is his Twitch. It doesn't show you, like, his constant viewership, unfortunately.
So it's useless.
Like, what his concurrent viewers per...
Okay. So what we're seeing is that there are spikes during certain times of year. There was a spike in, you know... Oh, isn't that interesting? The warmer it gets... I mean, this is actually a pattern you see a lot on, like, YouTube and Twitch. Where in the cold months where people are inside, the viewership goes up. And in the... Oh, wait, this is 2021, 2022. Yeah, so... He has not actually had a huge... Wait a second, this is gained followers. This is monthly gained followers. So he is not in the negative, actually. He hasn't been in the negative in a long time. He has been getting close to zero in the past year. But he is not in the negative.
Stream art just shows you what is, like... I don't know why it's bugged out here. But you can see for his...
Okay, I don't
his
give a
gained
shit about
followers,
any of this now.
It's dropping. He's now, like, losing. What was the dip? I have no clue what this dip was. Maybe he deleted a bunch of VODs or something? No fucking idea. Hassan's. Like, you can go back to, like, 2019. You can see, like, 2020, 2021. During the midst of the election time, everything spiked. During the midst of the election. Hassan's entire...
That isn't in the midst of the election, though. The spike is in December and January. The election had already fucking happened.
uprising happened from the beginning of 2019 up until the end of the election, and then what happened after Biden got elected? He managed to get a few spikes back up, but ever since then, just like every other figure and lefty YouTuber and streamer.
So again, what this is showing is that there are spikes when it's cold outside because people are staying in.
Across the board, besides maybe a few people like Destiny, who's been pretty solidly rising.
Who isn't left? Who's a right winger actually. So I mean, what are you including him for?
Like, he's just been pittering out. Because the fact is, the left only does well in terms of media coverage of frankly anything when times are bad.
Times are bad. Like, how fucking oblivious do you have to be that you don't realize times are bad? Like, I mean, times are fucking bad. You got a genocide going on. You've got, like, all sorts of, like, yeah, attempts to just basically criminalize the existence of trans people. You've got a pandemic that nobody's ever done anything about in this fucking country. You've got just one climate tipping point after another. Times are actually kind of fucking bad. Just because you are able to coast in your fucking gaming chair because you've got enough reach because the ex-Nazi grift paid off for you, does not mean that times are good.
And so Hassan needs times to be bad again. There needs to be a pandemic going on with people. Like,
there is a pandemic going on, you absolute dickhead.
Hassan's coverage of the Democrats compared to the Republicans was when the Republicans were in power. When Trump was in power, when COVID was happening and all that, it was nonstop criticism of
COVID is still happening.
Nonstop criticism of anti-vaxxers and anti-maskers, talking about how big a deal COVID is, how many people are dying. But
yeah,
now
and we should still be talking about it because it's still a hell of a lot of people dying, except it's harder to say because all of the detection infrastructure that we had, like the heyday of COVID detection was 2020. Ever since then, it has been systematically dismantled, so it is impossible to say. It was like, when the official numbers hit 1 million, immediately the response was to make it harder to figure out how many more had been dying. I mean, it's probably 2 million now, it's hard to say.
we're at threat of repeating all of that again, he encourages people to do nothing about it. Because all of that rhetoric, all of that talking about how bad Trump is, and all of that talking about how bad Republicans are back then, was nothing but serving to gain support, to gain clout. And now that we're in the stable period, he's just losing clout, he wants to go back.
What, this stable period? This motherfucker, I mean, he literally thinks that if Nobody is telling him there's a problem. If Joe, he only thinks that there are problems if there is a Republican in office.
Back to the left online being scared again, wanting to watch lefty content to hear about what the crazy President Donald Trump is doing.
It seems like he's not having all that much trouble finding content because the genocide and stuff. Like, I mean, I have a feeling Xanderhall might be dropping off a bit, although the last time I checked his YouTube subscribers, it was roughly the number that I just saw, so, I mean, he seems to be coasting. But, I mean, all he's doing is this sort of, like, less polished Will Stancil bullshit, where he's like, oh yeah, everything's fine, actually. He's the this is fine dog.
Like, Hassan is in a position where effectively he will not be affected, possibly at all, by another Trump presidency.
Actually, I have a feeling that a guy called Hassan is more likely to be adversely affected by a Trump presidency, than, an ex-Nazi called Xanderhall, actually. I think that Zan probably will do better in that situation than Hassan will. Just from the fucking name. Like, wow, this guy... he has previously said that he believes in reverse racism, and here he is saying that a guy with an Arabic name of Turkish descent is actually, unlike him, is probably gonna be okay in, if Trump, an explicitly anti-Muslim, anti-Arab asshole, like much more explicit and unpolished about these things than Biden, than Xanderhall, who's just a fucking reactionary white dude.
Even if the worst case scenario happens, he's very wealthy. So for him, he has basically everything to lose and nothing to gain from letting Biden get reelected.
Getting to this level, we're allowing Israel to feel comfortable in drawing the United States into this broader conflict. Iran didn't escalate. Iran retaliated. If Clarissa Ward on CNN can understand that fact, if Clarissa Ward on CNN is saying that Iran is trying to retaliate in an even fashion so that they do not...
Wait, now he's coping. Wait, he just said they're dropping the
No, he's not coping. It's called being honest. Try it sometime.
Retaliation talking point. And now he's saying...
Yeah, because he looked at a video where they had left that out.
Wait, okay, so even if she on CNN is saying it's retaliation, then it's very obvious. Like, wait, you...
Yeah, because he's responding to somebody in chat who said that, Iran was escalating this thing, and he was saying, no, Iran retaliated, that's not the same thing, and even CNN acknowledges that. I don't want to think about that's some Rosemary's Baby shit.
Just said that all the media was dropping that point, and they just said that it was retaliation, so you had to quick think up a way...
No, he didn't!
...of making that not be an instant disapproval of your bullshit point you made before.
If he were honest, he would just sort of ban people like you do when somebody points out facts you don't want to deal with. This is just so dishonest. He is, gaslighting people in real time. Because we saw what he was responding to. We saw what he said about it. And he's literally just erasing the context of what he was actually responding to. God, he's dishonest. It is so fitting that his emblem looks like a stylized swastika.
Mind-blowing.
Draw an even larger response from Israel. You should be able to understand that too. It is wild to assume that a regional actor that has developed its weapons capabilities specifically for this purpose is not going to retaliate when their own soil is struck. The Damascus consulate
okay. They retaliated? All right. So what does America do now? They're not Biden's not putting soldiers on the ground in Iran or anywhere around there?
Well, probably not, because the U.S. doesn't send troops to places where there are armies ready to repel them. The U.S. specifically only invades countries they think are totally defenseless, and Iran is not that. Yeah, that's spicy, Sean.
They're just saying, yeah, we'll support you, Israel, because you're our ally. If you get, like, fucking ICBM'd into oblivion...
There he is, totally not... He's talking about ICBMs that Iran definitely doesn't have and doesn't even have a program. There's no evidence that they have a program to even develop them. He does not understand.
You know, we'll be there to back you up. Like we've agreed to. Because we signed treaties for this shit. And we've got, like...
Yeah, because the U.S. is really big on the treaties they signed. Like the Genocide Convention and the Geneva Conventions, which they are currently in flagrant breach of.
Massive agreements that have been around since before the people who are currently sitting in their current seats of power have been in their seats of power.
Actually, those agreements, I mean, you look at the people in the current seat of power, they're all older than these agreements. In fact, I mean, hell, fucking Biden is older than Israel.
So, I feel like Hassan just makes so much money off of oversimplifying politics for, like...
All you've been doing this whole time is repeating Israeli talking points.
The lowest common denominator of people on the left. And I encounter Hassan fans online fairly regularly, and it's genuinely depressing to see them, because I worry that, like, normal people will see their tweets.
Normal people, yes, like the people he bans from his chat.
And the way they talk and behave, and think I'm one of them.
Nobody, okay, like, let me just say, if anyone actually, you know, this is something I would be terrified of too. If somebody thought that I was one of those Xander Hall type people, I would be deeply offended. I agree. Like, I think most people who actually don't have politics that don't suck would not like to be confused with Xander Hall.
I worry. The only time I ever feel self-conscious and worried is that
you need to feel self-conscious more often, my dude. You really need to. Like, I know you've got this shtick where you're trying to be like the imposter syndrome Jesus, and we're supposed to watch you, and all of our feelings of inadequacy are washed away. Washed away by just looking at how you Tim-pool your way through another stream without learning anything, without knowing anything. Just repeating stale-ass talking points and being kind of racist. But, you know, there are limits to this, and maybe you should be a little bit more self-aware.
That, like, normal people will think I'm with Hassan.
No, yeah, I think you'll find that he probably wouldn't be happy with that either.
And that I'm, like, him. You know, I truly despise him. And hope to God that nobody thinks that I am like him.
I don't. And, I mean, I can see why you would despise him. Because for any other criticism that I might have of Hassan, he actually seems to know what he's talking about, and he seems to have some principles. Xander Hall does not know shit about anything he talks about, and he appears to have no principle other than that he's a white supremacist.
Compound is Iranian soil. Israel greatly escalated it. The reason why you didn't hear about it is because mainstream media barely covered it. It was a blip. When it was a major move, the United States' response to Israel's major move was to say, oh, they didn't tell us. That's really f***ed up that they didn't tell us ahead of time. This is awful. This is going to ruin...
Which is bullshit.
This is going to
of course
possibly
they told... of course they knew in advance. Israel's officials give the U.S. a heads up when they plan on giving a speech that is going to insult U.S. politicians. They actually, I mean, the level of theater that goes on is to that extent.
Ruin the lives of many people in Israel. It's probably going to ruin the lives of many people in Iran, and would, if, depending on what happens after this, depending on how this round...
What fault lies on the leadership in Iran for not, like...
For not realizing that consulate would be an attractive target to Israel? What?
Because they could have just not responded with a retaliatory strike, because...
Well, what? So it's their fault for Okay, if Israel... One thing we have seen is that the U.S. and Israel, if they get away with some shit, they are going to take that as the minimum, that whatever they got away with today, tomorrow they will declare it theirs by right. So if Israel bombs a consulate in one country now, they're going to start and nothing happens to them, then they're going to start bombing them all over the place. You know, I mean, and so obviously, you would want international law to do its thing and say, you know, this is a crime and Israel needs to be held legally accountable. But it didn't, because international law is fucking useless for these purposes. It stands there and looks pretty, but you try to apply it to anything real and nothing happens. So either you just sit there and take it and know that now your consulates are fair game worldwide, or you do a retaliatory strike. And with that, I notice it is time for me to start wrapping up. Thank you to everyone who joined. I'm sorry again about the delay. It is just a little bit wild around here. The schedules are all out of control. It's a whole fucking situation. He's still in hospital. He seems to be okay, or like improving somewhat. It's not really clear, but it's resulted in me being delayed 2 nights in a row, and I am sorry about that, and I appreciate that everybody has tuned in anyway. I will be back Friday night at US Eastern Time, 11:30 p.m., and I look forward to seeing you. And if you like the stream, please consider supporting the stream, which you could do with a tip, which also goes towards my other project, the Inessa Armand crowdfunded translation. Thanks to all sorts of great donations from lovely friends and comrades, I'm up to $1,934 out of the total $8,500 I'm trying to raise. So if you want to contribute to that, it will be a great help in all sorts of ways and help expand the available English language Marxist canon. So yeah, that's always much appreciated. Let me also just drop the PayPal link for that, just in case anyone wants to. Have a good night. Good night, good luck, and fuck Xanderhall.